Newsroom, Chella Smith here, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on YouTube. I air on Fridays. I hold the Iraqi Dinar, so I bring you the latest on reforms and economics based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this review weekly, and it's based off my interest. Thank you, everyone who joins me each week. I appreciate all your continued support through your comments, likes, and shares. Those of you who are joining me for the first time, and there's many newbies, welcome to Newsroom. If you hold the Iraqi Dinar, this channel will be of interest for you. I appreciate all the positive feedback as this channel is growing. Thank you again for being here. Lots going on. Let's talk about the tensions growing this week in the Middle East according to the press. Let's take a look. Shafaq News reported the leader of the Satirist movement, Muqtada al-Sadr, renewed the past Saturday his position regarding the formation of the next federal government and that it will be a national majority government. This came in a tweet he posted on social networking sites Twitter on the eve of the first session of the House of Representatives in the new session and the intensification of the meetings between the main political component of the country, the Shiites, the Kurds, the Sunnis, with the aim of naming the three presidencies and proceeding with the formation of their government. Here are some of the comments that al-Sadr's made. There is no place for synchronism. Also, the Kurdish will defend the rights of the minorities, Sunnis and Shiites, and the Sunnis will defend the rights of the minorities, Shiites and Kurds. He also pointed out that there is no place for corruption, as the SEC will support reforms, stressing that today there is no place for militia. Everyone will support the army, police, and security forces, and the law will prevail in an impartial Iraqi judiciary. He also made comments saying that we will say no. Our decision is Iraqis. Baghdad People's Naz reports the former central bank governor Sinan al-Shabibi died Saturday in Geneva, Switzerland. Al-Shabibi's family announced the news of his death through a statement published by Nawar al-Shabibi, the daughter of Sinan's brother, the former governor of the Central Bank of Iraq. Sinan al-Shabibi, born on July 1st, 1941 in capital Baghdad, is an economist and served as the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq from September 2003 to October 2012. And next, we're seeing the first parliamentary session here reported by Earth News reports on Sunday. Members of the House of Representatives begin to flock the first sessional halls to take the constitutional oath. This is in the first picture here. And the second picture you're seeing here is Baghdad Mawazin News, who reports the Parliament Media Department announcing the opening ceremony of the fifth parliamentary sessions as it was held in the presence of all deputies of the political blocs. Shafaq News reported the oldest parliament speaker, Mahmoud al-Mashhardani, opened Sunday the first session of Iraqi parliament. The session agenda including taking constitutional oath of the 329 members of council and electing a new council president and his two deputies. The session was scheduled to take place at 11 a.m., but the failure to reach consensus regarding the deputies of parliament was postponed for several times. At the end of the year 2021, the president of the Republic, Barham Saleh, called the elect House of Representatives in its fifth session to convene, expressing his hope that the parliament would be able to form a new federal government. And the candidates for the position of Speaker of Parliament must obtain 165 votes from the members of Council, which is half plus one in the voting process under the Dome of Parliament. The Sunnis hold presidency of the Iraqi parliament according to the political customs followed since the overthrow of the former Iraqi regime in 2003, while the Kurds hold the presidency and the Shiites the prime minister. As for the steps that follow the election of the speaker and his two deputies, the parliament Iraqi constitution stipulates that the parliament elects within a period of 30 days, and a new president of the republic who turns will designate a head of the federal government to be the candidate of the largest parliamentary bloc. The person in charge of heading the government will have 30 days to present his government formation before Parliament to gain confidence. According to the Constitution, a candidate for the post of President of the Republic needs a two-thirds majority, the votes of 210 deputies. On the 10th of the last October, Iraqis held early legislative elections to get out of the political crisis that swept the country after large demonstrations in the central and southern regions in 2019 in the protest against widespread unemployment in society and spread of financial and administration corruption in the government, departments, and institutions, and the deteriorating reality, the service, and the livelihood which prompted the former minister Abdul Mahdi to resign under popular pressure. As soon as the parliamentary results of the elections were announced, the voices of political forces and actors rose in their rejections of losing many seats, accusing them of major fraud in the ballots, which was denied by exclusive and judicial authorities at the time when the United Nations and international organizations praise the integrity of the electoral process. Al-Sadr's bloc tops the final election results approved by the federal Supreme Court by obtaining 73 seats, while the Progress Coalition led by Mohammed al-Habassi won 37 seats, and the State of Law Coalition led by Nouri al-Maliki won 33 seats. The Kyrgyzstan Democratic Party won 31 seats, while Al-Fatah's alliance led by the Secretary General of Broad Organization Hadi al-Amari and the Kyrgyz alliance won 17 seats. The first session was a bit hectic, according to Earth News, as reported al-Mashhanani was attacked by representatives of the Progress Alliance after the coordination framework presented the largest bloc to al-Mashhanani, and he presented the coordination framework and presents his papers as the largest bloc with 88 seats, while al-Mashhanani directed the General Secretariat of the House of Representatives to immediately scrutinize it. Al-Farat News then reports the Secretary General to the House of Representatives called on the Second Reserve Senior Khalid al-Daraji to take over the Sessions administration after Mohammed al-Mashhanani was exposed to the health problems and was subsequently transferred to a hospital. Later that evening, he was released. As things settled down, Baghdad Ops List then reported the media department of the House of Representatives announced later that Sunday the start of the voting procedures to choose one of the candidates, Mohammed al-Habassi or Mohammed al-Mashhanadi, to head the council. Al-Farat News then went on reporting that the head of the Progress Alliance, Mohammed al-Habassi, won the presidency of the House of Representatives in the 5th legislative sessions. Al-Habassi won by the large margin over the rival in the coalition of determination, President Mohammed al-Mashhanadi, to be the first Speaker of the Iraqi Council of Representatives to win 2 consecutive terms after 2003. Shafak News reported, according to the media department of the House of Representatives, Mohammed al-Habassi won 200 votes, while his rival representative, Mohammed al-Mashhanadi, received 14 votes, while the number of false papers also reached 14 votes. Shafak News then went on saying that the new presidency of the Iraqi parliament has officially assumed its deputies after an election session with the majority of votes. The new parliamentary president consists of Mohammed al-Habassi as speaker, Hakim al-Zamili as first deputy, and Shakwan Abdul as second deputy. Al-Habassi said in a speech, "We need to correct many paths. It is time to restore confidence in political process." He added that it is a first step in a long way to reform many institutions and joints. Al-Farat News reports the United States welcomes the convening of the 5th session of the Iraqi parliament on Sunday. A statement by the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, a copy of which was received by Al-Farat News Agency, saying that the session is an integral part of the Iraqi democratic process and the national sovereignty. The United States extends its warmest congratulations in the re-election Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mohammed al-Habassi, as well as the first Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Hakim al-Zamili, And the second Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Shakhan Abdullah, in the view of the important role of the Iraq's play in the regional stability and security, we share the hope that the Iraqi leaders and new parliament will begin to expedite the process of forming a new government so that it can carry out the important work of continuing to protect democracy, support national sovereignty, and address challenges that urgency facing Iraq and regions now. We hope that the new government, once formed, will reflect the will of the Iraqi people and work to address the challenges of governance, human rights, security, and economy in Iraq. The U.S. ambassador hopes to form a new government as soon as possible. Shafaq News reported that the American ambassador in Baghdad, Matthew Tweller, expressed on Monday his hope that a new Iraqi government will be formed as soon as possible. The Office of the Iraqi National Security Advisor, Kazem al-Araji, said in a statement received by Shafaq News Agency that the letter of the American ambassador in Baghdad at the beginning of the meeting, the American ambassador congratulated the elections of the Iraqi parliament speaker and his two deputies, expressing his hope and a new Iraqi government that will be formed as soon as possible. The U.S. ambassador stressed the importance of the partnership with the Iraq, noting that the country hopes to expand the partnerships to include the fields of energy, health, and education. Also to discuss with the U.S. ambassador, according to the statement, the political and security situation at the regional and international level, as well as the files of the Al-Hol border camp. Baghdad Magazine News reported the head of the Satirist movement, Muqtada al-Sadr, tweeted about the federal court's decision to temporarily suspend the work of the elections presidency of the House of Representatives. Al-Sadr said in a tweet via Twitter, if the federal court's decision was to temporarily suspend the work of presidency of the parliament without pressure from here and there, then it is the first step of fighting opposition in parliament and not resorting to violence towards the formation of the national majority government. He added, but our hope is that the opposition will work for a common good and observe the casualties' deadlines. Al-Frat News reported Al-Rashid Bank also reported on Wednesday the imminent launch of credit cards, which will be granted to those who wish to hold a Nigil MasterCard, several advantages. And the media office of the bank stated in a statement that the general manager directed the work teams of the cards, channels, and electronic departments in the bank to hold a meeting with a number of Nigil employees where it was agreed on the steps of implementation mechanisms. He added, the cards carry several advantages, including lending a certain amount of according to the salaries, as well as possibilities of purchasing from sale outlets that have ATMs and POS. Shafaq News reports the Kyrgyzstan regional government announced Wednesday the approval of the Federal Council of Ministries to send 200 billion dinars to finance the salaries of the employees and workers in the public sector in the region. Baghdad Magazine News reports the Central Bank of Iraq clarifies today the value of interest on 4 types of loans while revealing its recommendations to the banks. The deputy governor of the central bank said in an interview with the official agency that the central bank encourages many banks to reduce interest rates and expand them to provide banking services and include all beneficiaries. He added that the central bank urges banks to reduce the gap between the benefits of borrowing and lending, noting that some banks grant interest with high loans and few benefits to depositors. And this depends on the extent of the risk and the feasibility of borrowing. The comparison is made between accepting the deposit because the banks cannot grant high returns for investors because he believes he has borrowed money and seeks to achieve between the interest he achieved for the customer and the cost of money he has obtained in order to lend it. Al-Shamari indicated that all these matters do not apply to the initiative of the central bank because the initiative is for house loans and they are without interest, but with a single administrative commission, explaining that loans on the other projects, whether agriculture, industrial, or commercial, have very low and diminishing interest. Today, NRTTV.com reported the Ministry of Communications announced that Iraq ranked 47th in the world in providing internet services. Ministry spokesman said in a statement seen by NRT Arabia Today that Iraq's attainment of ranks comes within the international classification of internet services. He added, Iraq's gradual rise to the center came as a result of the efforts made to improve and development of the internet services in Iraq. Early Thursday, Shafak News reported the parliament source said that the ongoing president of the Republic, Barham Saleh, has nominated himself again for the second term. The source told Shafak News agency that Saleh submitted the candidacy papers for the presidency of the Republic official to the Iraqi parliament today. And a source of the Patriotic Union of the Kyrgyzstan has told Shafak News agency that the party would nominate the current president, Barham Saleh, to occupy his position for a second term. The Iraqi Council of the Representatives has opened the door for nomination on Monday for the position of President of the Republic, with one of the candidates being elected with a maximum period of February 8th. Shafak News Agency then reported the Speaker of Iraq's Parliament, Mohammed al-Habousis, received on Thursday an official invitation from the U.S. State Department to visit the United States. Al-Habousis' media office said in a statement received by Shafak News Agency that the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, sent via a phone call an official invitation to al-Habousi to visit the United States of America as soon as possible. After congratulating al-Habousi on his assumption of the presidency of the House of Representatives, Blinken stressed the continuation of the cooperations between the two countries in all fields. Baghdad Ops List reports yesterday, January 13th, the reports of missiles targeting the U.S. Embassy in Green Zone in the capital, Baghdad. A security source told Al-Masula that the missiles targeted the U.S. Embassy in Green Zone. He pointed out that the sounds of the siren, and we'll let you listen to those in just 1 second, are from the inside the U.S. Embassy and the response of the C-RAM system in Baghdad. Let's listen to that right now. And as you heard, then Shafak News Agency responded with the American Embassy in Baghdad commented on the missile shelling. It was subject on Thursday evening, referring to the presence of terrorist groups that it said seek to undermine Iraqi's international relations. In a statement received by Shafak News Agency, the embassy stated, the American Embassy complex was attacked this evening by terrorist groups seeking to undermine Iraqi's security, sovereignty, and international relations. We have always said that these kinds of outrageous attacks are an assault not only diplomatic facilities, but on the sovereignty of Iraq itself. She added yesterday, a security source told Shafak News agencies that the attacks with 3 missiles launched from Kara area of Al-Dora city, south of capital Baghdad, targeted the U.S. Embassy building in the Green Zone. The Embassy Siren air defense system managed to intercept 2 missiles, while the third fell within the approach of the embassy. The security media cell confirmed that the missile bombing, a cowardly act, exposed the innocent residents of Green Zone in central Baghdad and the headquarters of diplomatic missions that the Iraqi security forces bear the responsibility of protecting, noting that it results in the injury of a girl and a woman. And last, Baghdad Ops Leaks reports the American New York Times reporting today that Washington sent warning messages to Iran in the event of a repeat of scenarios targeting the headquarters of the American embassy in capital Baghdad. The newspaper quoted in a report January 14th date the comment of the Pentagon spokesman John F. Kirby, which included a reference to possible U.S. response to the attack in a timely manner. This is what was said. 4 missiles targeted the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on Thursday evening, the latest in a series of airstrikes aimed Iranian threats and political violence as Iraqi factions struggled to form a new government. The Iraqi army said a missile landed inside a school across the street from the U.S. Embassy in the heavily fortified green zone, with shock waves from the blast. Slightly wounded, an Iraqi child and an Iraqi soldier. There's no more immediate reports of casualties or details of the damages caused by the other 3 missiles. The U.S. Embassy said on Twitter that its compound had been attacked by terrorist groups trying to undermine Iraqi security, sovereignty, and international relations. In Washington, Pentagon spokesman John F. Kirby said relatively small numbers of missiles hit the green zone and that the U.S. officials were still assessing the damages. And that's all for this week's Newsroom Weekly Review, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics. I try to bring you all the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm Chella Smith, the Newsroom here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. I will see you guys next Friday for your next Newsroom update. Shout out to Currency 365 for his continued support. If you want to learn about stocks and cryptos, you can join him and his crew for his most recent updates. You can find him on YouTube or Patreon. Thank you everyone again for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's broadcast. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you everyone again. Take care. Make sure you join us Fridays, 4 p.m. with Newsroom Updates with Chella Smith Entertainment News.